I've travelled to this remote reef 3 times in the last 6 months chasing one thing, a big jack. Now, on our first 2 visits here, we were able to locate these big fish, but unable to get a shot into one. The ledge that we located these jacks on was pretty deep, which made getting a good stealthy approach on these things very difficult. Or, in this instance, I didn't even see the big jack because this really nice Maori cod distracted me. Alright, before we get to the main episode, I want to show a few of the highlights, mistakes, and lessons learnt from the first 2 trips, and then we'll get into it. This dive here is the first time I've ever seen this ledge. Just as we got to the end of our drift, I could just make out where the reef abruptly dropped away and thought that is really worth having a dive on. Now, the first fish I noticed was this really big Maori cod. Right about here, I locked onto that Maori cod and did not even see this big jack. I reckon about 8 kilos sitting right behind it.
Wakia.
It was a shame I didn't see that big jack, but this Maori cod was still a pretty epic fish. It went 4.35 kilo, and I was really stoked with that.
That's a healthy one, eh? It's a goodie.
Matty, the bloke I was just talking to, has already taken a big jack off this particular ledge in years past. On the long drive north, Matty was telling me these pretty epic stories about big jacks on this deep ledge. So we counted ourselves pretty lucky to accidentally stumble across the mark. We put it into the GPS and we knew we needed to do a few more drifts on this spot. This dive was my very next drop onto the ledge. I'm still a long way off the bottom, but I can already see a very nice sized mangrove jack. Alright, so this brings me to my first mistake. It turns out these big mangrove jack really do not like being followed by someone sitting mid-water. If I'm going to shoot one of these fish, I think I'm going to have to get all the way to the bottom. As I have a good look around, I can see some smaller jacks and a pretty big trout, but if I shoot one of them, my chances of shooting a really big jack off this spot will greatly diminish. This dive is the last one on the ledge for the day before we move spots. So if I didn't see a big mangrove jack, something was getting shot. It's a long way down to not shoot anything. I'm having a good look around, but can't see any jacks. But when this big school of hustlers swims in, I can see a pretty nice big juicy coral trout sitting there. So this thing's coming home for dinner. Well, this coral trout wraps up all the attempts on the ledge for a big jack for this trip. But I could not stop thinking about those big mangrove jacks that we saw. So I had to get back out there, and 2 months later, we made it happen. Just before I got to the bottom, I looked up and there is this epic cave. I haven't seen this part of the ledge before. And as I swim towards the cave, there was some pretty good jacks in there. One in particular was probably around the 5 or 6 kilo mark. But these jacks were so flighty. I didn't think my approach was that bad or erratic. I don't know, they just spooked and took off. Unfortunately, on this day, I just was not feeling it. I felt like absolute crap after a terrible night's sleep, so rather than pushing it and risking a blackout, we kept it fairly shallow after this dive. So guys, if you take anything out of this video, if you're not feeling it on a particular day, don't push yourself, because that's how people get hurt. Big egos kill Spearos. As you can tell with those big recovery breaths, I really was not feeling myself this day. But that brings us to the third and final trip, where I'm feeling great, I'm ready to do some deep dives, chase some big jacks. Let's get into it, guys. Okay, so we set up this first drift so that we drift along for 15 to 20 minutes in some shallower water to warm up the lungs, and at the end of the drift, we'd end up going over the deep jack ledge. The ground I'm diving here, sandy bottom, little ledges, patchy reef. This type of ground is perfect for red-throat emperor. So I'd been on the bottom for a while, I hadn't seen any fish, and I was about to head to the surface, and then I spot a pretty nice sized red-throat emperor off in the distance. I was thinking, great, this is going to be an awesome first fish for the day, and I missed. I don't know how I missed that thing. Just behind that red throat was actually a pretty big coral trout. I nearly hit that thing. Not exactly the start I was hoping for. But, you know, it was just a one-off. You miss fish sometimes, and it's the first dive of the day. Things can only get better. Heading down for my second dive of the day, I was really hoping to see that big red throat that I just missed. I can't see that big red throat, but that right there is a big black wrasse. These black wrasse are absolutely delicious, but they can be quite challenging. I think I've only shot 3 or 4 in my life. I tucked myself in nice and close to the bottom trying to hide, and this thing kept on swimming closer and closer. But just like the red throat, I shot directly under the black wrasse. At the time, I had no idea what was going on. I couldn't understand why I kept missing these fish. But thinking back, it had been quite a while since I had changed the rubbers. Gear maintenance, guys, that's the thing. Especially if you're doing a big trip. So for the rest of the day, I was just going to have to get nice and close to fish. This was the last warm-up dive before we got to the ledge, so I really had to shoot something to get a bit of confidence back. This little high fin cod here was the perfect target. I haven't shot one for a while, but these things are delicious. I must have had that look in my eye because this little guy was onto me. He knew something was up. He wasn't going to make it easy for me. Just before he went into that plate coral, he gave me one more look, and that was his mistake. Well, I managed to nail that shot, so I got a bit of confidence back after those 2 horrible shots this morning. But then this cheeky shark shows up, trying to steal it, but I was thinking not after the morning I've had, so I reefed it in as fast as I could and managed to keep it away from the shark. I threw that fish in the boat, reloaded my gun, and by that time we started to drift over the top of that ledge. Now, it was so hard to relax and calm myself down, thinking there could be that 8 kilo plus fish of a lifetime mangrove jack waiting for me at the bottom of the ledge. The first fish I noticed was that massive humphead Maori wrasse. That thing was enormous. It was swimming over to a much smaller Maori wrasse. Maybe they were paired up, I'm not sure. But just a really cool sight. You know what's not a cool sight? 0 mangrove jacks. There wasn't one getting around. It actually looked pretty lifeless. And that obnoxious big black thing right in the middle of the camera, that is my snorkel. Yep, sorry about that, guys. On the plus side though, there's another high fin cod, except this one's enormous. This is the biggest one I've ever seen. So I thought, yep, this one's coming home. Well, I think it's safe to say I've adjusted to the way the gun was shooting and I've got it pretty dialed in now. So this high fin went 3.2 kilos. This is really big for this particular species of cod, so I was pretty happy with that. It's a cool fish. I took another dive on the ledge, but this time I wanted to land a little bit closer to that big swim through cave. That's the same spot where I saw 7 or 8 big jacks on the previous trip. As I'm heading towards the bottom, I can see a few blubber lips, or wong we call them, and that's a pretty good sign for jacks in the area. There were no signs of any mangrove jacks anywhere. Not even a little one. So if we were going to find a big jack to shoot today, it wasn't going to be here. There is a backup plan. Dan and I had been looking at the maps and we found a bit of ground that was quite deep and not too far from this area. So we wanted to go and do some shallower dives, get a few esky fillers like coral trout and red throat or whatever, and then we'll go and try that deeper stuff. As I'm heading towards the bottom on this dive, I spot a few cobia off in the distance. These fish were just sitting underneath a ray. Now, you could probably hear me making some grunting noises. That normally brings in cobia or kingfish, but not in this case. As I'm swimming towards them, I spot a nice little coral trout sitting on the bottom, and I think, yeah, that'll do. While it may not be quite as exciting as hunting big jacks on deep ledges, this sort of hunting in the shallows amongst all these caves is still a lot of fun and a good way to relax in between deep spots. Okay, now that we've had a bit of a rest, it's time to go and explore that deeper ground that we found on the charts. From the surface on the new spot, we could only just make out where the bommies were. So, just as we were drifting up to the bommies, I took the first dive. Just on the way down, having a good look around, I spot a nice sized mangrove jack, exactly what we're after. That bigger jack swam straight towards the ledge, where it joined a school of much smaller jacks. Now, these jacks were not spooked. They didn't swim away in a hurry. So the plan is to go back up current, get a really good breathe up, dive all the way to the bottom, and approach the fish that way.
Yeah, that first drop was good. There's some solid jacks. Good structure.
I've been asked to put this whole dive up and add a timer, so let me know if you enjoy it. As soon as I could make out a few shadows on the bottom, indicating the start of the reef, I took my dive. Just before I get to the bottom, I'm having a good look around to see where the jacks are and where I should go and lay. As As soon as I spotted the jacks, I went and laid all the way on the bottom, did a few little scratches on the rocks just to see if that would bring them in, and it seemed to work. A few of them peeled off and swam in towards me. I picked out the biggest jack I could see, lined him up, and took my shot. The shot looked good, so I put a lot of pressure on this fish to keep it out of the reef. After that initial battle keeping it out of the reef, I could then let line out and get myself to the surface. Yeah, that fight to keep that fish out of the reef and drag it up was pretty hard work. Diving like this, it is essential that you have a good dive buddy watching your back. Joel went down and checked the shot, but he wasn't sure the spear had gone all the way through the jack, so he put a second shot in it for me. Thanks, mate.
Alright, that's a good jack.
Nice one.
I looked at it and I was like, I can't see the spear coming out the other side. I'm going to put another shot in just...
Appreciate it.
Alrighty, time for a slow motion action replay. I know you guys love these. This jack went 74 centimeters, a new personal best for me, and I was really stoked. Despite being 74 centimeters, this fish only weighed 4.95 kilos. I couldn't believe it. I thought this thing would go 6 kilos for sure.
You filthy!
While I'm stoked with the PB jack, I'm still on the hunt for a proper monster. We continue to drift this reef looking for another big jack, but I found this nice sized tusky instead. As I'm coming down, you can see I'm in that tusky's blind spot, and only when he turns to have a look at me, that's when I pull the trigger and take my shot. I'm always happy to get a good tusky. These things are so tasty. It's getting on in the day now, and yeah, we just finished doing a few deeper drops, and it was pretty cool. Shot my PB jack. I think it went 72 centimeters. I'm pretty chuffed with that. But yeah, having a fun day. It's good fun diving. Hard work. Been doing some pretty deep drops today. So now I'm going to sleep well tonight. With only a few hours left of daylight, we moved to some ground in the 18 to 20 metre range. Now, along this drift are some really nice bommies. Sandy patches like this in between bommies are a great place to find your red throat. Your best chance of shooting a red throat is to get all the way to the bottom. Or sometimes you just get lucky. I found this red throat just chilling out on top of a bit of lake coral. This fish was facing the other direction, so it was pretty easy to sneak up behind it and get a good shot into it. We eventually drifted up to one of the bommies, and I spot this really nice sized coral trout. This is the biggest one we'd seen all day. But this trout was not silly. It knew exactly what I was up to and took off into a cave. But I thought I'll swim over to the cave, stick my head in there. Hopefully it's just chilling out and I'd get a shot into it. Fortunately for that trout, there was an exit out the back of the cave. Turns out there's a good reason that trout's pretty big. It's not a silly fish.
I'm done for today because I'm getting heartburn.
I think I'm done too. Whew.
Alright,
Oh.
ready.
G'day folks, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Chasing those big jacks is a lot of fun. I'm still hoping to get one over 8 kilos, that's the magic mark I reckon. But I'll keep trying. Little update for the channel. Just repowered the Haynes. I've had this boat off the water for probably 7 or 8 months now, so pretty stoked to have it back on the water. Hoping to shoot up north and chase some reds or big jacks, nannies, big jobbies. Hopefully bringing some pretty cool adventures to you guys. You've probably seen the hats already if you follow me on Facebook. Thank you very much to those who have already bought one. I've still got quite a few there to sell, so head to the website and check it out. It'd be pretty awesome if I sold a few more. So the dive cave has started to look after the channel a bit, so go show him some support. He's on the sunny coast, an epic little spearfishing store, and if you want to get a little discount, use Down Deep 5 and you'll get yourself a 5% discount. Matty's a legend, great spearo, very knowledgeable. He'll help you out with whatever spearfishing needs you have. Thanks guys.